by might, not by power, but by the voice that shakes the ground. Come out of the shadows, Kedoshim Tihu. And so we answer, set apart for the King of Kings. Every step, every breath surrendered, until the whole earth starts to see.
Good morning, fellow faithful. This is your host, AT. I have lost my voice for today. I do apologize, but I want to watch something with you all for this Wednesday. We'll call it a Watch Party Wednesday. Feel free to enjoy the conversation here from Dr. Daft's show, from conservative moms versus liberal moms. I look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow. Please enjoy the conversation and have a good discussion about it for those of you who will be staying with us. For the rest of you, I hope that you have an absolutely beautiful morning. I look forward to seeing you all here soon.
Today on The Bridge, we're bringing together liberal mothers and conservative mothers to discuss parenting, family values, education, culture, and the challenges of raising children in today's world. While they may approach many issues differently, they all share the same desire to raise happy, healthy, and successful children. Let's see where they find common ground and where they don't. Unfortunately, one liberal mom could not make it, but we still had an amazing conversation. Welcome to The Bridge.
Hi, my name is Tanjay, and I'm a conservative mom.
Hi, Tanjay.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Hi, my name is April Redden, and I'm a conservative mom to a 21-year-old.
Hi. Hi, I'm Stephanie, and I'm a conservative mom to 2 toddler boys.
Hi, my name is Rosalva, and I am a conservative mom to a 10-year-old girl.
Hi, my name is Aisha, and I'm a liberal mom to 6 girls.
Hi, my name is Brenda. I have 4 children, and I am somewhat liberal.
Hi, my name is Ashwini Jain. I'm a liberal mom, and I have a 21-year-old and a 23-year-old kids.
Children should not be exposed to gender identity conversations before the age of 10.
As a parent, I think that the kids should have age-appropriate lessons on respect and understanding. The kids are exposed to many families and people in their day-to-day lives. That teaches them a lot. That teaches them to, give understanding of everybody needs to be humble and respected. So I think it's crucial.
So for me, I think it's important that kids learn about all different ways of being in this world. We have free will that was given to us by God. And so we can choose how we want to live our lives. And we have the free will to choose to change our minds. And I think that it's important for kids to understand that the moral lessons come from the home, but everyone's home is different. And so at least understanding that everyone may have a different choice, but that's their God-given right.
I'll say that I feel like this question is kind of torn because I guess it depends on the child. It depends on the situation. There's a lot of factors that include it. But I would just say if a child is under the age of 10 and it's not like a topic that they are curious about, or, I feel like there's no need until there is a need. That's just my, personal opinion. But I feel like this question could go either way, depending on the child, especially when you're talking about a child that's under the age of 10 in this society that we kind of live in currently, because I have little ones. So mine are really, really little, like from 4 to 7. So certain things I wouldn't talk to my 7-year-old as I would with my 6-year-old. It really depends. So
I feel that it doesn't, just my thought again, I feel that it doesn't confuse them because as a parent, you're trying to guide them, right? So it's just, and down the lane, they're going to face such situations. So it's better to, in a small portions, I think it's better to expose them to such ideas, I feel. So it's kind of, that's my thought, that it's okay to talk in like small portions about these things.
absolutely, I agree. This, like I said, the question is kind of, it could go either way.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I agree with you because I believe it's about the age of 2 where they already start getting curious. Like, hey, I have, these body parts. So I feel like it depends who's having the conversation with them. And so I've already had that conversation with my daughter. She's 10 and I had it way before. My parents had that conversation with me way before 10 as well. So I feel like, same, like kind of just depends who's having the conversation with them. And, one day, my daughter came to me asking me about her, identity way before the age of 10. And so, I'm also a Christian conservative mom. So I told her, you are made in the image of God and you are female. So I feel like it's important to have that conversation and then tell them you are female or you are male.
Yes, I agree with that as well. I'm also a Christian, so it's very important for me, for my sons to know their identity as sons. They're very young, so I won't have this conversation, hopefully not anytime within the next couple of years. But I do believe that because society definitely tries to tear men apart, I think it's very important to be that they learn their manhood as they grow, and that they're mainly my husband, I would presume, would be the one teaching them that. I'm sure there's ways that I can help.
I'm a Christian as well, and I'm also in a same-sex marriage. And when I was younger, my mom and dad didn't have those conversations. I had to wait until I got older, and then I was a teenage mom. So we were definitely not having those conversations. And then now I have a child who's struggling with her identity. So I guess I'm torn between the two because I want to remain open, then I don't want to be judgmental because I know there's some folks saying, well, how can you be a Christian and you're in a same-sex marriage? How can you have gay children, but you're a Christian? So, but I still want them to know who they are and where they come from. Sure. God loves you. God looks at your heart, not your actions, so I guess I'm kind of torn between the two, like some of you said.
Mm-hmm. I'm torn as well. And I see sides to everybody. I'm a Christian woman as well. I was just thinking back, I forgot about this scenario when I was about 7 years old. I didn't know anything about what, when you're a child, you don't know anything about gender identity. And it wasn't talked about then, much probably older than you guys. But at 7, my dad had just gotten remarried and the sister was a male before. And I didn't understand that because he's like, your aunt so-and-so, you know, used to be a boy. And so now I think that there is a lot of curiosity, and I think that we need to speak with our children when those scenarios come up and they ask us. I don't necessarily know that if I had a small child, I know when my daughter was young, I didn't bring it up because it really wasn't around us per se. But definitely with TikTok and the news and everything going on, there's so much more awareness and so many more children now making different decisions than when we were younger and it was suppressed. So that's why I think that my views have changed. I don't know that I would talk about it unless it came up, but I do know that when it was talked about to me, it wasn't spoken to me with kind of like an awareness. It was just kind of a fact. And I think looking back, that was a lot to put on a child without really explaining, because I really didn't understand it. So I think at that point, with my curiosity, maybe I should have asked more questions, or my dad could have said it differently for sure.
I know for me, I wish I would have said it a little bit earlier. I knew that my son had unusual behaviors when he was very, very young. And I, at the time, was married, and we were conservative Christians. And I was met with, I was putting that idea out there and just to stay quiet. And so I watched my son struggle for many years and had a lot of issues through high school and college. And when he finally decided to walk through the door of understanding who he was, and he told me in confidence many years before he came out with it to anybody else, you know, he got so excited and to tell me that he had discovered who he was. And I was like, yeah, I know. I thought you were going to tell me something different. And he was very hurt, I think, that I didn't tell him ahead of time. And I
That
said,
it was okay.
that's not my job to tell you who you are. But it also, because I was in a very conservative Christian marriage at the time, and I was trying to uphold the values that were set ahead of my own personal beliefs, I had to watch my son struggle and deal with that. And so I wish that there had been a platform for me to have the conversation, or at least be open to it and say, it's okay. If you don't want to go to prom with a girl, or you don't want to go to prom at all, don't go, you know? And I didn't have that opportunity, and it's really hurt our relationship.
Oh, that's too bad.
I've had a similar situation like hers. Like my daughter's best friend was Maxwell. He was a guy back in kindergarten, and they were besties. They were inseparable. And then the next grade, or a few grades later, or actually, sorry, after a few years, he's now a girl. And by then, my kid was very confused because they were best friends. And how come? She had so many questions. She was a little confused. And then I felt as a mom that I should have prepared her much advance that these things can happen. You know, these are like life situations for current, you know, for the current situation. These are, it happens, you know. So this made me think that I wish I had talked to my child earlier about things like these can happen, and it's okay.
The good news is that it's awareness now. And that's what we're doing.
Yes.
And we're saying that it's okay to talk about these things.
Yeah.
Whereas our parents didn't feel that way sometimes.
And I don't think our parents had the tools or the resources.
That's right.
Just like I said, I was a teenage mom. I had my first daughter at 16, and I just turned 46, and my oldest daughter is 29. Two of my daughters are gay. And some people ask, well, how kids with men? And I'm like, yep. Because it's my choice. It's a free choice. And then I have questions where they're like, how did you know your kids were gay? And I'm like, we know. We see it. I knew my 27-year-old, I knew when she was 2.
And when my son was 3, yeah.
Exactly, because they just do things differently, especially raising girls. They were more like boys, the tomboys. You just know. And I knew, but I wasn't as open back then. And now, I guess I'm more open since I'm in a same-sex marriage. But again, still Christian. God loves me the same, and that's what I tell my kids.
Of course.
You know,
my mother's conservative. She doesn't know that my son is gay to this day. He has not told her, and she's not willing to even explore the idea. And I'm sure that it affects him in ways that he can't be authentic. And so,
Acceptance.
yes.
Acceptance is a big
Thing. So I think it's important to have the discussion. The earlier, the better. I've worked with some students here in LA. I worked with a child who was born male but identifies as female, and I taught her dance. And the child was the most well-adjusted, even-tempered, emotionally strong child I'd work with in a long time. So I think that the conversation, when handled correctly, can be beneficial to everyone,
Yeah.
the community and the home life.
Yes, because it affects their mental health too.
Yeah.
I think when they're hiding, and it affects their like you said, their energy, everything, because they can't be themselves.
And how do you authenticate that it's authentic? Like, it can happen that peer pressure can, say, oh, my best friend is, saying he's not who he is. It can affect your friend too, right? And he can say, hey, I want to think like him, and it could be not authentic. So how do you stop that from happening? Because you don't want to have like a wrong choice, right? As a child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that can happen.
Yeah.
With peer pressure, and I mean that's
Peer pressure, and some kids are followers.
Exactly. So that
some
shouldn't,
kids,
that should not. I mean, it's nothing wrong or right, but it should not be a wrong choice.
Yeah.
Which you should regret, when you grow up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's again a thought to think about, I guess.
Yeah. It's what we model in our home.
I do want to piggyback off of what I said. I will just be very upfront. I do struggle to sympathize with. Not struggle. I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say. It's in my brain, but it's a little hard to articulate. Like I sympathize with people who are confused with their bodies, but I can only speak from my personal experience. When I was a teenager, I believed that I was bisexual, so I lived that way. And as a Christian, when I gave my life to Jesus, that was something that he just took. So for me, I'm just very strong on like we need to. I'm just going to be very frank. I believe we need to teach women to be women and have women qualities and be effeminate and I'm going to say the word submissive because I believe it's a good characteristic to have, and I believe that men need to be strong and leaders and have those traits as well. And it wasn't anything that anyone taught me growing up. Like I did grow up in a quote unquote Christian household, but nobody lived that way. It was something that I personally experienced when I gave my life to God, and it completely transformed my life. So I think these things need to be firm in a household. So they aren't confused, because it's very easy to become confused. The world is screaming at us ideas. Social media is screaming at us ideas. And I do disagree with the line that you said that I can't tell you what to be. Like, to a degree, yes, but to a degree, no, because you are the parent. And yes, I agree, you navigate them through the feelings, but I can only speak as a Christian and as a conservative. That's just what I believe. I wouldn't be able to give you an answer for today as if my child were to come up to me. They're only 2 and 1. They barely know a few handful of sentences. I don't know today how I would answer that question or how I would help them through that, but I know I would pray. I would seek God. I would seek counsel and go from there.
I think I would be completely shocked if my daughter came to me and be like, oh, I all of a sudden want to be a boy. Because like I said in the beginning, I have affirmed her as a Christian conservative mom. You are made in the image of God and you are female. And she's she is so girly. She likes to play with nails, even though she's 10, let her play with makeup. So, she dresses very feminine. So if she were to come to me tomorrow and be like, I want to be a boy, I would be shocked. And like you said, as conservative Christian moms, we take it back to praying. I would pray about it and affirm her, like what's going on, probably get her help. And,
but as a mom, won't you feel like what's good for the child is good for you in a way? Like, I mean, one is if he or she authentically doesn't want to be what they're saying, which is understandable. I mean, you would test the kid, right? But if you're convinced that he is what he is saying he is, so as a mom, wouldn't you feel like, okay, for the happiness of the child, I will dive in with the thought.
Well, like I said, I've grown, like my daughter, raised
not
her
getting
to be
the religion
feminine,
in the picture, but just as mom to child.
I think that would
connection.
be very...
I think for me personally, I would not be able to I don't know what the word is, to separate the two,
Sure.
because I'm Christian.
Sure.
And I was one way once, and now I'm another way now. So I could not separate it because I believe that what I believe in Jesus Christ to be true. And so I couldn't separate it. I had to put God above everything. And it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. But I believe that with his guidance and his wisdom, he can do supernatural things. So he can help me as I help him, if he ever were to come to me with that.
I think it's
Okay.
important to get an understanding of why they feel
That's
like
right.
I feel like everybody's jumping to conclusions, but even though I'm a Christian, right? I'm also Jewish, but at the end of the day, I want my child to understand, okay, you're feeling this way. Okay, well, why do you, is it because your friend is doing something?
I agree.
Or is it
Right.
because you saw something?
always a root.
Or is it because this is really how you're feeling? Let's get down to I'm a very factual person. I want to get down to the bottom of it. I'm not going to jump to conclusions. And although I'm Christian and Jewish, I feel like, yes, but at the end of the day, I'm a mother,
That's right.
right? And I want my child to feel safe.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, of course.
So I think that's the important thing.
And I also, and just like you said, pray. Like pray about everything, worry about nothing. That is so, it's easier said than done,
course.
because I'm a worry, I'm a freak out, and then I'm a pray.
Yeah.
And then I'm a pray and I'm a worry, I'm a freak out. But I think it's very important, like you said, understanding, affirmation. But the main thing is we cannot live through our children.
Mhm.
We can't put on them what we went through growing up. I can't put on my children how I grew up. Just like you
I
said,
agree.
understanding,
Because
and then prayer.
I don't know if you would agree, but over here on the Christian conservative side, we like to say ends with us. Everything ends with us because we don't want our children to go through the same thing that we went through. I went through poverty and so many other awful things. It's a story for another day. So I always say ends with us. The generational curses, we break them. It
That's right.
ends.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed that almost every beauty brand calls itself clean now? For a while, I thought shopping in the clean beauty section meant I was making better choices for my skin. Then I learned that clean beauty isn't actually a regulated term. Pretty much any brand can put it on a label. That's what made me interested in OG. OG is a certified organic beauty brand that performs like luxury makeup. And what really sets them apart is that they are NSF certified organic, which is one of the most rigorous certifications in the beauty industry. So instead of guessing what's in your products, you can feel confident about what you're putting on your skin every day. I also love that their Crystal Contour collection is made with nearly 90% skincare ingredients. We're talking green coffee oil, elderberry extract, and cold pressed jojoba, ingredients I would normally look for in a skincare product, not my makeup. And the routine could not be easier. 3 sticks, copper for warmth, rose quartz for a natural flush, and opal for glow. It takes me about 5 minutes to put it on, blends beautifully, and gives that natural skin-enhancing look that doesn't feel heavy or overdone. What I noticed right away is how breathable it feels. The sticks layer effortlessly, add subtle dimension, and somehow manages to look polished while still looking like my actual skin. By the end of the day, my makeup still looks fresh instead of feeling like it's been sitting on my face for hours. If certified organic standards matter to you, but performance is non-negotiable, OG is definitely worth trying. If you're ready to raise your beauty standards, OG's got you covered. Go to og.com/DAF and use the code DAF for 20% off. That's OGEE.com/DAF and enter the code DAF to get 20% off. Children should be taught about racism and America's history honestly, even if it makes them uncomfortable.
Me as an African American woman, I think it's very important to talk to my children as soon as they can understand, as soon as they're able to comprehend what that means and what that looks like. Right now, even in where I work, like I deal with a lot of it. Even in the entertainment industry, we deal with a lot of it. So I think when I come home and I tell my kids about all the wonderful jobs that I do, they see the glittery part of it. And then I tell them, oh, and then on the back end, I had to deal with this. Oh, but why? And it's like, because this person doesn't like me, or this person wasn't mean to me, and it's going to happen to you. And then this is how you handle it. So we definitely have to talk about it. Definitely.
Yes, I agree. Also, I'm Latina, Mexican American. And so I've had to have a conversation with my daughter because she's Dominican, Mexican, and American. And so we have her in a private Christian school. And so there's, obviously there's different cultures and everything. But I've noticed that she's kind of like the one that stands out. And so I've, had that conversation with her. You do deal with racism. This is how you handle it. I've dealt with so much racism as well. And of course, America's history as well. It's so important for our kids to know it so they know what happened throughout all history. And then, it's just an important conversation to have with them.
Yeah, I don't think we should leave it to the schools to teach our children about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Learning about like racism doesn't mean like the kids are to be framed for the past. It's about learning about the facts and giving them a better, like asking them to make better choices so that they don't repeat what has been repeated in the past. So
And I think racism is just not about black and white.
yeah, I agree.
It's
I
not.
agree.
It's much, much deeper than
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's good to be aware, make them aware of it exists, but at the same time, learn from it and don't make what has happened in the past. Make like more improvised or what do you say, like informative choices.
I think even, I live in Laguna and my kids are the only Black kids in the entire school. So it's a little different because, in that area, typically it's more affluent, other races, and we've had to kind of navigate. But I press to my kids that try not to see race. Like, we understand it, we get it, but having that feeling like you belong here, not because of they're white, you're Black, but you belong here just as much as anyone else. And I think that's important even now because there are kids that still are the only Black kids in schools and things. So it's a little bit different. But honestly, if I was to say anything, I love being the only Black anything
Talk about
in
it.
a room. Like I love it. It excites me because I get to bring a little bit of me to environments that don't have that. And even though me being Black, I love being around everybody. So yeah.
Yeah, like my daughter she's in New York, and I live in Laguna too. So she comes to visit me, and she goes shopping, and then people are amazed at like, oh, you come here to shop. So she comes back and says, Mom, this feels so not New Yorky. Like it feels very different out here. I said, well, that's how it is. And growing up, they've had discriminations and stuff, so they are aware of that. They're aware of their history or American history and even the difficult part of the history. But that teaches them, I always tell them, look at the positive side. Like, it's happened, that doesn't mean it'll happen again. So just be brave and learn, make mistakes, but make newer mistakes. Don't repeat what has happened to others.
My daughter's first boyfriend in preschool was Black. So, but we're from Newport Beach, and in her elementary school, there was only one Black family. So I understand.
Yeah.
And I actually felt, bad because, it's just kind of different. But my daughter, my ex-husband's 100% Mexican. So she, in Newport Beach, was the only dark-haired girl. She has dark skin, dark eyes, dark hair. They used to think I was the nanny when I used to bring her to school. So it was, even though she wasn't Black, she was different.
Right.
And to this day, it's so funny. Like, I'll go home and there'll be 7 girls on the couch and they're all blonde, blue-eyed, and she's the only dark-skinned, dark-haired girl, But I believe for history, I believe we should teach our children young.
Yes.
There's nothing to teach when she had a little boyfriend in preschool. I love that she didn't see color, and that's how it should be.
Right.
But I get it. And we are faced with racism still to this day, but it's very important that we teach our children about history. And thank God we're not living back in those days. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
In fact, I feel thanks for the history. It teaches us a lot to be a better place.
There are some things that's been taught right now in both of my kids' schools. They'll send home a permission slip. Hey, we're going to talk about this happened in the Civil War. We're going to watch this movie or this show. So they ask your permission, and then you can either say yes or no. But there are some topics where they just teach them, and then they come home and they tell you about it. So we only have but so much control. you know?
But if we had the control, I think is what she's saying. So it would be nice to have the control and to
it would be
look at the
nice, yeah.
syllabus and go, yeah, I don't think I'm comfortable with that.
Yes.
So if that's the question, yes, I think I would rather know exactly what
I
the
agree.
subject is.
I
Like,
would rather know.
Parents should definitely have their voice, but I think the public education serves the community. So it should be like a mix of the educators, experts, teachers, and parents come as a team work, than just one group of people controlling everything.
Right.
So I think it should be a good mix of everything.
Yeah, I feel like they should be able to learn whatever, because if they don't learn it at school, they're going to learn it on the tablets, they're going to learn it on the, on the roadblocks, they're going to learn it somewhere. So I feel like as parents, we can't be everywhere, right?
Exactly.
And to try to control everything is really not possible.
Nope.
So I feel like would I want to, obviously I would want to know what's on the syllabus, but would I kind of try to control the narrative? No. Because we live in a world where clearly everything is out of control.
Out of control.
So, yeah.
And it's so hard to relinquish control these days, you know? It really is. So.
I agree with what most of everybody has to say. I guess I disagree because I am going to homeschool my sons. Because I'm just so concerned about what they are teaching in school. And because I think I'm the youngest here, I'm 25. So I was in high school like 8 years ago. So like from my experience, I didn't like school. I think that I don't remember a majority of what I was taught in school. I think a lot of it has good experiences and bad experiences. I had a very bad one, and I want to be able to know that I am shaping their minds. I just think that's very important to me to know what they are learning. And I want them to know correct history. I think a lot of what's like in the history books is wrong. I think a lot of it's right, but I think a lot of it is wrong because of the bigger conspiracy of like who wrote these like history books and who wrote all the things that they're learning. I want to do my own research, and I want to dig in with them and let them become their own little conspiracy theorists.
But, I have a question. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
But don't you think for the development of the kids, a mix of home environment and a school environment is important?
I do want them
in this day and age.
I want them to do like co-op. I won't completely shut them out from the world. That's very unhealthy. I wouldn't recommend anybody do that. I do plan on putting them in environments. They're already in environments where they're around other kids in church, library, where it be. So they're always with somebody, and I have a pretty good circle. My what's called, what do they call it? The village, my village. I have a pretty good village. So they're always around someone. They're always learning something new. I won't hinder them from learning whatever they want to learn. That's not healthy either. So I just want them to learn, but I want them also to learn what I want them to learn.
It's important to touch the grass.
What I can say,
yes, I agree. I agree.
What I can say about homeschool, because I was homeschooled from middle school all the way even through college. I never experienced prom. And there's certain things now that I look back as an adult, and I hate that I missed those things because I was homeschooled due to bullying and all those things, you know. But I look back and I'm always like, dang, you know, I wish I could have been just experienced kids my age, because now people think that I seem much older than I am because I was taught by adults and not with kids my age. And it really kind of did me a disadvantage, honestly, when you're thinking about the grand scheme of things. Like, I'm an introvert. Like, I don't, like hanging out with people because I grew up being taught by adults and hanging out with adults and communicating with adults, not with kids. So I don't understand people that are my own age. So I feel like there is a disadvantage in the long term in the grand scheme of things, even for like mental health.
Oh yeah.
I dealt with a lot of mental health growing up, and all I could say is thank God I'm here today, So there are good and bads, but with homeschooling is a strong thing. I wouldn't suggest it.
And I would even say the opposite. Like, because I went to public school and my mental health was terrible, I thank God as well that I am still here. So it's just a personal preference.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
For me, it would depend on what the subject was and how I felt about it. If it touched me on a personal level that I thought would do themselves harm or would harm the community, I would put my foot down. There are things that happen today that I'm just like, that is not okay. And, at the end of the day, whether you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim or whatever, we're all human and we all believe in the one thing, that it's about love. And so if you're not teaching love and you're teaching another way that provokes hate, then I would have to put my foot down at this point. My kids are older now, so I don't have that luxury. And I was conservative when they were growing up. And so I held my tongue a lot of times. And I think it's something that the new generations can kind of learn from mine and the community's mistakes from before.
Could you give an example of like what you needed to bite your tongue for, or?
So my kids grew up. I chose to raise them in a very affluent upstate New York area that had only white children and some Black Americans that were bussed in on the urban suburban program to try to create balance. And there were times where I would hear kids say things that were hurtful and hateful to their classmates just because they didn't know them, and nobody was teaching them in school that they're living in a different area. It doesn't mean they're a different person. And my son happened to be friends with one of the urban suburban children, and he actually was in my son's wedding. They've maintained a friendship all this way through. But like, my son was almost ostracized by his classmates because he chose to be friends with someone who wasn't like that, and nobody said anything. And I was really upset about it. But in school, they were just like, "Oh, kids will be kids."
I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah, but having said that, also it's kind of like I would partially like first make sure or talk to the teacher or understand what the mistake was, like learn better and have a discussion with the kid, because I feel the education kind of exposes kids to different ideas, which helps them do critical thinking and make better choices. So I would just first understand what the difficulties or what the problem was, like do a research and then take a call based on that.
I agree.
Yes, I guess I would say it depends because, I have my daughter in a Christian private school, so I obviously have her there because I want her raised with Christian beliefs, and then, they have good curriculum and all that. But I know there was a situation in the school where one of the teachers were teaching, I think it was New Age or something, and my household is against New Age. So I believe one of the children or my daughter's friends came up to me and they were like, we're kind of confused because isn't this a Christian private school? Why are they teaching something way completely different? And so I asked my daughter, did they teach you that? Did the teacher ask you or teach you anything new agey? And she said, no, not me. It was the other kids. But I wouldn't have, like you said, I would go to the teacher and I would go to the principal. I'm not going to just automatically pull her out of the school because I want to know, okay, are they teaching this? Why are they teaching this? Her being at a Christian school.
Yeah, like growing up or long back in Virginia when my kids were going to the daycare, like I'm a Hindu, I follow Hindu religion, so I don't eat beef. But the school fed beef to all the kids, like the daycare. But then they made it kind of difficult for me they asked me to go to the temple and get a letter from a priest. And we don't have, like the priests won't give, like it's not in our system or whatever. So I had challenges, but then I was like, it was too difficult to get a good daycare. So I just used to drop off, Chick-fil-A or something on the days they were serving beef. So it's just like, because the education, the system is good, but they have glitches, but you don't want to give up good system for a glitch. You'll just work around it. That's my approach, because I'm not going to just walk out because then getting another institute, daycare is very difficult, things like that. So I'm easy that way.
I think it's good to ask questions, though,
Yes,
because
exactly.
that's how we get to
You don't wanna
places
jump
where we
into
can't
conclusions.
fix what has been done. And so I think that it's important to stay interested and curious,
Yeah.
because the education system is very broken.
It is.
The Bible warns women about placing their value and beauty on outward appearance. Scripture says charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord shall be praised. That's where Miss Eternity comes in. You may have heard about beauty pageants before, but I promise you, you've never heard of one like this. Miss Eternity is a Christian faith-based pageant that embraces beauty from the inside out. It's also a 12-month mentorship program. And I want to invite you to Miss Eternity 2026, happening August 8th in Lakeland, Florida. It's going to be a full day of faith, fun, family, and fellowship, kicking off with our Eternity Market at 11 a.m. We're going to have live worship. We're going to have vendors, Christian small businesses that you can shop and explore, followed by the Miss Eternity Royal Showcase and Pageant at 4 p.m. I invite you to join us and lock down your special offer today at misseternity.com/Dr. Dab.
I monitor everything my child does online, and I have no guilt about it.
No, I don't.
I was right in the first place.
Well, I do. I mean, back when my kids were younger, not because, I mean, I did it, not to be control freak, just to make sure they are doing, like, this, just to make sure they're safe, and that in the process, I'm teaching them to make better choices. So yeah, I definitely would.
I actually feel pretty strongly about this. I had a discussion with my daughter when she was younger because I knew parents were monitoring their whatever, their Instagram, their TikTok, their this or that. And I talked to my daughter about it and I told her, you know, some parents are doing this, but I'm not going to do this. And this is why I'm not going to do this. You don't give me any reason for me to monitor you. You're in a way a perfect child. I had no problems with her to this day. There was no reason for me not to trust that she would make decisions on her own or be able to know when to watch things or not watch things. And I mean, I just trusted my child. It did not lead me astray. She is just thriving. And I really strongly do not think parents should do this.
Now I disagree. I disagree because the younger two, my 14 and 16-year-old. So me and my wife, we have parental controls on everything you can imagine. We are trying to keep them away from social media. We limit cell phone hours. We limit screen hours, all the things. And because too, they struggle with, one of my daughters has an intellectual disability. So of course we have to make sure we manage those. And then my other daughter has mental health struggles that she's dealing with that God is bringing us through, of course. But my 14-year-old, I don't have to monitor her like I do the 16-year-old because the 16-year-old has done all the things at 16.
But she's giving you a reason. That's what I'm saying.
Right. And
I was waiting for a reason.
Yeah. So my
You have a
14-year-old hasn't given me a reason. But then when I go to her screen time, it's 2 hours on Roblox and 1 hour on Pinterest. But when it's time to study for the Spanish test, there's 20 minutes on Duolingo. So, you know, there has to be balance. So it's like, okay.
But is she a good student? Is she still making her grades?
Sometimes. And it's because of her study habits. But if I wasn't monitoring screen time, I think she would be doing probably less than she is now in school. So it just depends. So it just depends what I expect out of the six. Well, I expect the same out of both, but I have to monitor the 16-year-old more than I do the 14-year-old because the 16-year-old, she'll text somebody and say, you know, I want to hang out and finger you or something like that, you know? And
See, I don't think I want to know that. And I'm sure there was stuff like that going on, but I don't want to know that.
But that's real. That's real. This is why you have, because you have other kids that are probably doing worse than that because they're not monitoring the household. And a lot of kids, their parents give them cell phones and tablets to babysit. You know, why the parents can't be parents, they can't be present. So the tablets and the screens are babysitting their kids or taking care of their children. Where in me, we have a pretty balanced household and I'm all over everything moving. Now, my wife said, oh, you coddle them, they're not ready for the world and all these things. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be all those things until I can't do it anymore. So yes, I'm monitoring them.
We only have our children for so long. I think we should just do everything in our opportunity that we can to protect them. Like for me, I'm Gen Z. Gen Z has a really bad problem with their phones and everything. So like for me, I also have screen times because I know how I am. I know how it is. And that's all I ever knew. I grew up in front of a TV. So like for me, I'm even more so, for my little babies, I'm even more so going to be on top of it because the world is a scary place. There's like too many things and you never know what they can click on, what they can, anything. So I feel like
Yeah.
At this age, at least, I have to be right on top of it.
Yeah, and who's behind a lot of those apps?
Exactly.
There's predators. There's it's
story.
a sick world out here, and we have to do what we can to protect our children.
Yes. 18 years or however long you guys have them in the home, it's not enough. It's like,
And even at 18, like a lot of people say, at 18, my child has to go. I want my child to go and go to college and be a great person, but at 18, it's not like I'm kicking my child out the door, you know? So some kids aren't ready at 18.
Like just building a trust is important with kids, but at the same time, knowing what they're doing in your absence, or, you know, keeping a watch is important at certain age, because after certain age, it's kind of like, I'm not listening to you. So when the kids are younger, it's more easy to, you know, tell them what to do than when they grow up, you know, they're on their own.
Yeah.
So the foundation, I feel, is important, at least the first 5 years for a kid. I mean, this is just my opinion.
Yes.
So it's very crucial because it's kind of like a Play-Doh. You're forming a shape. So it's important how you raise them, you know, and what you want them to imbibe is crucial. So
because it forms every other relationship.
Yeah.
Childhood.
And like you mentioned, you don't know who's behind these apps. And so like Roblox, who doesn't play that? My daughter plays Roblox a lot, but I'm there next to her. There's like this certain drawing game. And there was one time we were on there and somebody went on that Roblox game and drew something completely inappropriate, and I had to exit out before she even saw it.
Yeah.
So I think monitoring like it in a certain extent. She has a phone that's not even connected, but if she goes on Wi-Fi, it connects, and she'll text and she'll FaceTime, but I'm still making sure, who is she FaceTiming? I trust her, but you just never know. I don't check her text messages because I trust her enough. I know the daughter that I raised. No, she's not going to be texting no boys or anything. I know she's not going to. I mean,
Okay.
I know what? I know it's going to come one day, but right now she's only 10 going to 11.
But that's the thing, right? Like the childhood is very short-lived now because of internet.
Yes.
Very what? I'm sorry.
Like the childhood, like the innocence is very short-lived because of internet, and they get educated sooner than they should.
And then we have AI now, which I'm completely against. ChatGPT AI. I had to use it the other day because I have a sibling, or one of my siblings passed away, and so I was like, can you create this memorial? And it did it, and the way that it did it with the picture of my sibling, I was completely shocked. So I'm like, imagine what else can be created that our kids could see. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I'm scrolling through social media and there's this video and I'm like, is that AI? And then my daughter will be like, Mom, that's AI. I'm like, oh, well, I'm already over here getting scammed. So I could just like, you know, I could just imagine other kids.
I'm big on my kids making, even though they're really young, I'm big on them making choices.
Yeah.
So if they do something and I just so happen to walk by and I hear something that doesn't seem right, I'm not necessarily monitoring them, but if I hear something and catch something that isn't right, we discuss it, have a talk. Okay, why is this not right? Why should we be watching this? Because what the point is, I want them, because I can't be everywhere, I want them to be able to go out in the world and make choices on their own, so that when I'm not there and they are with kids that maybe are not doing right or well, they know what to do. And they can come back and say, Mommy, today this, and that happened. And it happens all the time at school. They'll say, hey, such and such did this, or someone drew a picture of a private part and, you know, I wasn't involved in it. But I want them, at 6 years old, that's big for my daughter to be that aware. And that's what I've kind of taught them. I don't want to, because I want them to be comfortable coming to me with anything, regardless of what it is. And I don't want to, because my mom was very like, no, you can't do this. No, you can't. And so obviously, when we got out in the world, we did everything that she said not to do. And I don't want them to do that. I want them to be able to make choices, understand why I'm saying no, not just you shouldn't be watching this, or there's a reason, because there are predators out there. There are people that want to do bad things to children. I want to have reasons. I don't want to just tell them, no, you can't do this. There's a reason. it's not because mommy doesn't want you to enjoy watching certain things or, you know, hanging out with friends, but there's a reason for everything. So that's kind of my take on it.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like I would want, like I said before, like I want their safety. I want them to make better choices. I mean, by guiding them what's right and wrong, they should be able to make a choice or like make smart decisions, which will make the parents proud, right? So it's basically, you're not controlling them, hey, you can't do that. It's just that teaching them from right from wrong.
Yeah.
If I
But
may
I think
say
the
so.
question was if they read about something or learned about something that was maybe something that we didn't agree about or we weren't on the same page, how we would react. It could go back to the same question with gender, right?
Yeah.
So if my daughter came to me one day and she said, you know, I want to be a boy or I want to be gay or whatever, I think that's what she's saying. And if we felt differently about it, but in answer to that question, I would support my daughter no matter what she wanted to do, whether it was a choice that I wouldn't make for myself, but that's how I would answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, like, I agree with her, what she said. Like, come to me with good news and bad news, and let's discuss it. And let's talk as a debate, or like, see if you can convince me or I can convince you of my ideas. So have an open conversations. Whatever you see online, or if you're confused, come to your parents, because they know, they'll always have a good in you.
Yeah.
They're not going to mislead you, right? I mean, if you trust us, like create that trust with your
I think
kids.
it depends how old they are too. So if you're talking to a young child, obviously you want them to listen to you because you're the parent and you know you have the experience. But if you're talking to a 21-year-old like I am, she's pretty darn smart. In fact, I think she might be smarter than me. So I'm going to listen to her and she can probably convince me that it makes sense and it's the best thing for her to do. So
And having an open mindset.
for sure.
You know, open
Always.
mindset. I think that's half the battle.
Always.
Because a lot of times I think some parents are like, I'm the parent, you're the child, you listen.
Yeah.
I say, do what I say.
A lot of
It's like,
people are like
no.
that. It's awful.
Like, I'll give you a silly example. Like my daughter, like you said, you're right. But then growing up, she never liked me shopping at Zara. Like, those are mommy clothes. And now she's 21 and she's like shopping in Zara. And I'm like, hello, who's shopping in Zara now?
I can't
No,
even
they
think
come
of how
around.
many times
Yeah.
things like that have happened, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I
And
mean,
a lot of the trends they're bringing back now from when we
Yeah.
were younger, you know?
I have had a conversation with my child about how to behave if they are stopped by the police.
I've had to have the conversation because my 16-year-old who is gay, she looks more like a boy than she does like a girl. So of course she won't get stopped driving because she's not driving yet. But if you're on the public transportation or if you're out on the mall with your friends and a police officer comes up to you, this is how you should react. Only because she presents as a boy and being a black male not in Pennsylvania, that's where I'm from, sorry. Being a black male African-American in this country is just, some things just don't go right when they are having police interactions. So we definitely have to have that conversation. It's basically, just don't be defensive, take your guard off, keep your hands out of your pocket, and just comply, you know, because they don't know what you are. You barely can see her boobs, you know, she has dreads, she's beautiful, but her demeanor sometimes is kind of like a boy, and sometimes that can be intimidating to police officers, you know? So we definitely had the conversation.
Yes, I've had that conversation with my daughter as well. But the reason being is because I almost became a police officer. So, and I've worked for the government for a few years. So we're exposed to law enforcement. We respect law enforcement, but I still, you know, have showed my daughter, hey, God forbid, when you get older, you get pulled over by police officers because we respect them. You know, this is how you are to behave. You know, they're probably going to ask you insurance, ID, and all that. But it's also, you know, what you mentioned, it's like sometimes there's good and there's bad police officers, which is very sad. And I was a cadet for a few years. I was a police explorer, and I've seen the bad side. It's sad. It's there. I went to the police academy as well. And so it's important to have those conversations with our children, because even though know that my daughter is, you know, a good person. She's going to grow up to be a good person. I don't know what police officer she will come across. It could be a good one. It could be a bad one. So just, you know, knowing how to behave, I think it's important.
Yeah. I would say, like, to my kids that it's about they're here for their safety, trust, and knowing the rights. So you should know what your rights are, and it's for the safety. So it's basically preparing them for a better, like, you're being a responsible parent, telling them about what's out there. Like, if the cops come, they're doing their job, but at the same time, know your safety and know what the rights are.
Yes, that too, because, you know, exercising your Fifth Amendment rights
Exactly.
as well. So they need to know that. They
Yeah, it's
definitely
important.
need to know that. There's police officers out there that are doing their job, and then some that aren't. So, you know, knowing the law and knowing your rights.
It's like going back to, like, younger days, like about bad touch and good touch, right? So it's something like that, like, know what your rights are, make sure your safety, give respect to them, don't treat them like, you know, they're doing their job. So you have to check all that, like, you know, all the check marks. Don't get intimidated, be like very, don't feel nervous, they're just doing their job. At the same time, if they're not following the right, you know, like, if they're not following the line of order, then you got to you got to complain or take action.
This question actually made me sad because I never had, my children are much older. They're older than a lot of the people on this panel. My oldest is 32. So a lot of these questions about internet and monitoring don't really apply because my kids didn't have that accessible. But the police thing, they grew up in a very white dominated upstate New York, privileged area, and police were considered like uncles or whatever. And so we never had that conversation. And then my godson came into our family who was adopted from Africa. And we started to see some of the police brutality, and that came across my mind, like, he needs to be told how to handle himself in a situation where my biological children didn't have to give it a second thought. And here my godson, who's not a blood relative, and he's not even my own son, he's my godson, but still I look at him as, you know, an extension of my family, would be treated so differently in a similar circumstance. And that really bothered me. And I think it's a problem that is not addressed enough. And I think it's part of the unfortunate white privilege that people don't like to admit to. And I'm glad that I'm white, but sometimes I'm hurtful that that's what I have to face with other people, and I'm not that person. And I feel like that sometimes comes across that you're white privilege, and I understand that firsthand, and I don't really know how to make that a better scenario for people. But I think it's something that needs to be talked about more. And I think being white, it's hard to admit that you have privilege or you feel privileged. You rather just say, no, they're being dramatic. And at least that was my experience growing up, or in my family or in my community, was like, oh, it was the other person's fault. And, you know, now I'm the ousted one of the family. But I feel like that it's sad, and it's still very real today.
It is. It's very sad. It's very sad. But thank you for being aware.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you for caring.
Yeah, compassion takes you far.
I would say just don't be ashamed of who you are, because your character and how you hold yourself and present yourself to the world will speak volumes more than
Yes,
than
I
color.
agree.
It really
But I also think that it's hard because people evolve, and like, I know where I grew up and what I was doing for my kids at the time when they were small to protect them and raise them in a safe environment. And I saw a lot of the negative sides of that conservative Christian upbringing that probably did some harm and not so much good. But at the time, I thought I was doing the best that I could for them in that scenario. And so I think that's why I kind of teeter on both sides. I see value in both sides, but I think it's important for there to be shades of gray and not so much black and white.
That's right.
Well put. Yeah.
The last sentence was fair. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in the end, we all like humans. We are one tribe, We may look, in different shapes and sizes, but we are humans, We can,
And we all bleed the same.
yes.
That's right.
Yes.
My children know my political beliefs, and I want them to share the same beliefs.
I would say they know and they're very little, but I'm teaching them what I want them to learn, what that I want them to know, what I want them to live by. So maybe not fully politically speaking, because again, they're 2 and 1, but they know they're starting to learn more or less what I want and what I don't want, and expectations that I do have.
Yes, my daughter knows my political beliefs, and my entire family does. And we don't lean the same way. Some are left, some are right, but we still respect each other. But do I want my daughter to hold the same political beliefs? Yes, and she does. And same religion beliefs as well. My daughter is very into politics. She's just 10 years old, but she's very, yes. But yeah.
My kids know my political beliefs. However, even though I'm conservative, I feel like I could be in between. But however, I feel like they are their own people. I'm not here to try to force anybody, kids, parents, anyone here to believe what I believe, because I have a reason to believe what I believe. Yes, obviously, I want them to have certain values, but I don't want them to just, I want them to know why they're doing it. I feel like this whole do it because I'm doing it, it doesn't really work.
I don't think anyone here would say that they try to do that. I think everyone would try to have a conversation with their children and get them to understand where we're coming from. I believe in open dialogue as well. I think probably everybody here would. I would hope to believe that nobody would be doing that to their children.
No, I agree, but I think what I'm trying to say is,
sorry for interrupting.
No, you're good. You're good. I think what I'm trying to say is, I feel like my kids should be themselves. Whatever. If they want to decide, obviously that would not be my choice. But if they decide to be a liberal, okay, be a liberal. There is not there. I feel like, and even now, when you think about liberal and conservative, currently to this day, it's very. It's not really defined.
Sure.
If you want to be honest, if we're looking at conservatives and liberals, right now we're in a world where everybody's just doing whatever.
Yep.
And there really isn't like, the conservatives really aren't conservatives anymore, and the liberals really aren't liberals. So
Sure. I agree.
I'm kind of giving everybody, including my children, time to find themselves in what they believe in and what they feel like is right for them, because what is right for me may not be right for them.
That's right.
It may not be, because I've walked a different life. I've had to go through different things that they probably might not go through. So maybe a liberal would be better for them growing up.
Yes.
Everybody experiences life once. Everybody's experiences are different. My children's experience will be different from mine. I grew up completely different. They are living in a very affluent area. I didn't grow up like that.
Same.
So the views will be different.
Yes.
And that's kind of what I tell anybody, my kids, my friends, family. It's all love. At the end of the day, it's all love. It's all love. This whole, this, that, it's all love. I am just full of love, whatever that may be. If it's Christian, if it's Hindu, whatever it is, I love people, because we only get to experience everybody on this earth once. Whether you're Christian, whether you're whatever, you only experience everybody once. Everybody, at the end of the day, will go on. And I don't want to have that feeling that, I'm not, because I don't want to have an estranged relationship with my kids because they don't believe what I believe, because they don't practice the religion that I practice. Yes, I'm Christian. Yes, I'm also Jewish too. Yes, I have strict things, but at the same time, these are my babies.
Yes.
And I'm going to love them regardless, because I gave birth to them. And I can't see it any other way. I couldn't fathom seeing it in another way.
I agree we should love our children. I and correct me if I'm wrong. I just don't, maybe I'm misperceiving what you're trying to say. I don't see anything wrong with having strong convictions. Like I have a set way, and I don't think that's wrong. I personally don't. I mean, I think what I think. Obviously, I think what I think is right. I will never force anything upon them. I will, again, just open dialogue. I have a very open dialogue house. Me and my husband will ramble on for hours at night. Like it's never, you must do it because I say so. Like that's evil to me. It's evil to me. And I believe, even now as myself, like I sat here and I chose the conservative side, but I would say I'm more in the middle. I wouldn't say I'm, just so many things happened within this last election that kind of like opened my eyes. And I agree, our views can shift and even our convictions can shift. That's not a bad thing. I just think we should know what they are though, and try to be rooted in them. That's I think the end goal for myself, at least. Try to just be strong in my convictions.
And I feel like everything, like I said, at the end of the day, God is love.
Yes. Amen.
Period. End of discussion.
Amen.
End of discussion. Whatever you believe, at the end of the day, God is going to love you. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And that's just how I feel. Christian, but God is love. And that pretty much is all that needs to be said. Like, I feel like too, love is, people gray the area of love. Love is unconditional. And when you're saying unconditional, you mean without conditions. It doesn't matter. They can go out and do something crazy. And you know what? I would still love them.
Yes.
Yes.
Unconditional. No argument, no judgment, unconditional. And that's what I hold myself on to. And I think what you're saying is 100%, I agree. Everyone now, I feel like even here, are kind of in between. We're all like, we're not really, I don't feel like everyone here is like liberal and conservative. I think everybody is kind of just going with how they grew up, what they believe in, and it's all love at the end of the day. Yeah. That's it.
I agree. I agree with you. I think I lean more towards you because I grew up differently than my kids, and I don't want them to experience anything that I experience. But we're very vocal in my household, religiously, politically, but I don't want to make them feel this is how me and my wife feel about certain things. So you have to feel this way. Again, just like you said, love. God is love. That's how we operate, and that's it.
Because they are themselves sorry, they're them. They're different than us. So we can't expect them to be like us. They're not a mirror. They are our kids, but they're not the mirror copy of us. So they should have a choice to decide what's right and wrong for them.
It's not just that, but respect as well. Obviously, we're having this conversation, and it's both liberal and conservative. So whatever, side our kids decide to choose, have respect for others that, think differently as well.
Like one time my daughter comes to me, like when she was teenage or something, and she said, "Oh, Mom, I'm an atheist." So I didn't react to it, which is because I didn't want to tell her, "Oh my God, that's like a thing." So I just looked at my husband and said, when she was gone, I said, "Don't worry, when she doesn't get the first job, she's going to pray to God." And it happened. I mean, she's looking for a job in New York, and she's like, "God, give me a job." I'm like, "Oh, you're atheist and you're praying now?" So let them make mistakes, let them learn. You're always there to guide them, but they are not you. So you have to give them that right to be them.
Yeah.
Yes.
I took my, about a couple months ago, we joined this church, and my 16-year-old, because we do like a meditating session, that's how they open the service. And afterwards, I said, what did you think about the service? She was like, "Feels like a cult." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And my other daughter's like, "I love it, Mom. I can't wait to come back." And then sometimes when we do service online, she's like, "And I want to do this meditation." And my other daughter's like, "Yeah, no, I'm good on all that." Now, she loves teen service, loves it, doesn't want to be disrupted. Last week, we were doing service online. I was in the kitchen cooking, and she's like, "Mom, could you calm down a little bit, like you're being loud?" And I'm like, "You're the same kid. This church feels like a cult." So you just don't know. They just need to have options, like to make the mistakes, to understand things on their own, because they're always going to come back to us.
Yeah. So when you give them that option, they like you because they're free with you then. Because if you're putting restrictions, then they want to go elsewhere for their, whatever, whatever the word is.
I agree.
So it's good to be, more like a friend-ish than a mom or a dad.
I disagree there.
I disagree.
No? Okay.
I'm not my kid's friend.
Okay. No, I'm not their friend either, but I want them to come to me like not for everything, but I want them to be natural them.
Yeah.
Not something they're looking for, like I don't want them to be something they think I like.
Right.
You know, like in that way. It's
And
not, I don't want a friend too. Like,
I do want to say
I want a
this.
friend, but not
And I want
kids.
I want them to have a healthy fear.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'm not your friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I want to, and I stay approachable. I'm open. Even
Yeah.
sometimes we have conversations and I go in the room and I'm like bawling, crying, but
Mm.
at the same time, I don't want them not to come to me. But certain things I'm like, yeah, I don't want to talk about that. Like, I'm not one of your friends.
I do want to add, I feel like because my kids are so young, like it's easier to just feed them what you want them to believe. And most of you guys have like more, or you also have younger kids, but like most of you guys have like older kids. So it's like, I know as I grow, things will change. I'll believe different things. My convictions will change. I hope like the big ones will still be the same, but I know that like other things will be similar. I know I want to break generational curses. I don't want to repeat the same thing. My mother, I don't want to speak bad about her on the internet, just wasn't the greatest. And I was like, there's no way I can repeat that. Like, I don't understand how someone could do certain things to their children. So like, I'm trying to be the complete opposite, but do it in love. I really am trying to do it in love. I promise. I love my kids. They're my everything. And I want them to be good in society. Like, it's hard out there. Like, I'm very young. I'm only 25. So like, even for me, like when I'm in the grocery store by myself, I'm like getting looked at. I'm like, okay, I'm just a mom. But I agree with a lot with everything you guys are saying.
Like, again, parenting is very subjective. Like, what works for you may not work for somebody else. So whatever rocks your boat.
Sure.
I
mean,
feel.
motherhood rocks my boat. It's hard.
It is hard.
It's a full-time job. It is. It's
And
hard.
as moms, we always feel guilty that you didn't do this for your child. It's okay.
Yes.
You know, you can't, like I tell my kids, you can't have it all, because it's better to prepare them for disappointments than telling you can have it everything, you know,
That's right.
Yes.
because life is full of ups and downs and you have to face it. You know, you can't just think it's like a fairy tale. There's no Prince Charming.
That's right.
You have to work towards it, you know, or, you know, whatever.
That's right. Absolutely.
A mother's most important job is to raise children, not to have a career.
I'm a stay-at-home mom, so that's just by choice. My husband didn't force me to do anything. I love being a stay-at-home mom. I do plan on homeschooling my kids. I might have said that already. So to me, it's important. I understand. I have a lot of my sisters are single moms, so like I'm not gonna sit there and stay home with the kids. You gotta work. If you gotta work, you gotta work. So I'm never like, this is like a both. Like, you can do what is right for your family, and that one I'm very like firm on. You do what's right for your family. Whatever. California is expensive, so like you gotta do what you gotta do, and as long as you know in your heart, it's your conviction to work, it's to not work. I think it's between you and God. It's a choice that you have to make for yourself. And I don't think anyone should push one way or another. I don't think anyone should push one way or another. It's whatever's best for your family.
I had a scenario that just happened to me this week. We're at lunch with my daughter and her new boyfriend. And we were at lunch and I was they're getting older. So we're talking about like life. They're going to do a long distance relationship. They just met in Barcelona. And now they're going to try to figure out a long distance relationship. So I was really getting down to the nitty gritty. And I said, and they're both in finance and they both want to be financial advisor, investor, or whatever. And so I said, okay, well, he wanted to go to New York. We live in Orange County. She wants to raise her children in Orange County. So I'm trying to figure out, where's grandma I'm going to be ending up, right? And so she said, well, Mom, when we get married, he already knows I'm not working anyway. And I was like, okay, I'm spending all this money on education right now. And when you get married, you're not going to work? What? Like, that's not how I brought her up, right? I brought her up where you go to college and you work. And I mean, I had a choice, but the choice for me was working because it was just something that I love to do. But for her, it just kind of blew me away, honestly. And in my idea, and I guess how I kind of put my ideas on her is I said, well, what about this? I mean, you're going to be building your career. You don't want to get married till you're 27 or 28. You're going to have 10 years building your career. Why not? And the career is, once you have your portfolio or whatever, you can work from home and you can still make the money, but you don't have to like just say, I'm never going to work again. But I guess the whole point was, it kind of blew me away because it was completely different than how I was raised. To this day, I don't know when I'm going to be able to stop working. But then at the end, she's like, okay, well, maybe I'll do that when I have kids then. Maybe I just won't work when I have kids. And I never even knew this about my daughter. I was like, wow, I never knew that you didn't want to work. So it's a choice. She can do what she wants. I certainly didn't raise her that way. It didn't even occur to me that she would ever not want to work. So I just thought I'd share that with you guys.
Yeah, I guess like being a mom is like it's significantly important to be a mom, but at the same time, it's very difficult for a woman to be choosing work over family, right? I mean, I feel that mom's value shouldn't be determined based on she's working from home or she's going to work. I mean, it's a very difficult situation, but as moms, I think, decide what's best for the family or the kids, and we take that decision, and one should respect that, I think.
I'm going to say one more thing. So the job that I've always had, it's been in sales, so I make my own hours, and I always worked from home. I've actually never had to go to an office. So when she was a baby, and when I say I chose to work, I would put her in daycare for 3 hours because I thought it was a really good way for her to get acclimated. In fact, to this day, I have a best friend from preschool. But I always took my daughter to school. She never went to daycare. I always picked her up when school was out. So I had the flexibility of making money, getting that, what I needed as a professional woman to feel, that I was contributing or whatever, and a single mom at 3.5. But I was always there for my daughter, and I was able to do both. So I was blessed because her dad, for example, he did have to go to work before she woke up, and he did have to come home usually like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So luckily, I had the kind of job where I could, in a way, stay home, but I still got my work, and I'm still like that.
I'd also like to add something. Like, I do believe do what's best for your family, but I also do believe that, like, especially in the beginning years, for me personally, I think it's very important to be with your children because they're your new babies. They don't know anything in the world. They don't know really anything because you got to shape them and form them, and there's something about a mother's comfort, a mother's kisses, cuddles that they need. It's like,
and you want to see the first smile, the first walk. You don't want to miss that, like that's, I'm getting goosebumps.
But I want to add, sometimes it's hard because I'm a single mom. Although her dad is in the picture, but I am a single mom. And so I still try to, be home with her all the time and pick up do school pickups and all that. But I just received a degree yesterday. And so I didn't just, I didn't just walk that stage for my family or for myself. I specifically did it for her. I want to be an example to my daughter. And so she's going to middle school. And so I told her, although it's summer, we're still going to read books because I want you to graduate from middle school and go into high school with honor cords. Like, I want to see that, I want a good future for my daughter. And I've seen the downside as well. We have a family member, she's about maybe 35, 36, that has never had a career, and she's struggling very bad. And so that's somebody who I constantly pray for because I see the way that they were raised, and it's really sad. They don't know how to drive. I believe they do have a degree in something, but they've never used it. And so I see the downside of it. I see some of my nieces and nephews as well, which is very heartbreaking, that they just like completely aren't even trying in school. So I think about their future. I'm doing the best that I can because, again, it goes back to breaking those curses because I myself, I'm first generation. I'm the first one, and I have 6 siblings, the first one to have graduated elementary, middle, high school, and college.
Awesome.
So, thank you. Thank you. I am.
But it's good to be independent at the same time. It's a very tough place to be.
And I think the world's shifting a little bit because, I mean, like I said, my kids are between the ages of 32 and almost 22, so different generation. And I think when I was younger, it was perceived that you go to college, then you get married, then you have kids. And some people maybe shouldn't have had children, or maybe shouldn't have had that pressure. Maybe they wanted to choose not to have children or have less children or not get married right away. And so for them to be told they should be a stay-at-home mom isn't a great option for them. They're not going to be a great mom. They're not going to be a great person, an individual.
I agree with that.
I think nowadays it's more accepted that it's more of a choice if you choose to have a family or not. So it's getting a little bit easier as women. But I also have seen, like you said, the downside of people who have chosen motherhood as their identity, not just their career. And so your child is eventually, if you did your job, going to leave you and become a productive person in society. And if that is your only identity factor, when you become middle-aged, who are you? And there's a big crisis with a lot of women in that 40 to 60 age range who always were told, just stay home, take care of your kids, don't be selfish and have a career. And now they have nothing.
They're jobless.
And a lot of them did not work on themselves or have the luxury of therapy. So they were repeating generational traumas and issues with their own children, and now they're wondering why they are there the way they are. And so I think it's changing, but I think the middle-aged demographic, especially in the U.S., I've been doing a lot of work internationally, so I've seen a little bit of difference based on region. But I think here there's a big disconnect in that 40 to 60 age range in terms of what women should and shouldn't do and who they should be and who they shouldn't be. And so I think it's hard because they're getting from their parents or grandparents that are a little older, seeing them come out and be an independent person or speak differently or have different way of living that's not accepted, and they're feeling the guilt and shame, but they're trying to break the curses or the traumas or the generational issues in the family for their own children, which may or may not work. Their children may or may not accept that. I'm going through that with some of my own children because all they've known is the conservative Christian values, morals, and family members, that when someone's challenging that it's easier to stay comfortable and identify in things that maybe don't serve them the best. And so they'd rather choose comfort over discomfort and evolution and health and change. So it's a very hard place to be right now for a lot of people. And so when I see younger people who are in my kids' age range who are so pro, and I'm glad that you guys are both, all of you seem to be very gray in their conservative viewpoints, but it makes me concerned that when there's younger people who are so hard and fast in a way, and they're not willing to be curious and look at why, when someone says something that doesn't align with their values, why it's triggering them to react in such a reactive way and not choosing to reflect and maybe look at why that's happening.
What I will say is I started my career young, like at 16. I started a family really young. My husband ended up dying during COVID. And
sorry.
Yeah, thank you. And left me with 3 babies, so 3 little ones. So I've had to kind of adjust. And even though I'm a single parent now, I'm able to pick them up every day from school, drop them off. I'm at every outing, every play date, every balancing, between working, full time and doing what I love and being a mother. And I've been able to find the balance, and, not without support of my mom and his family too. But I think balance is a big thing because I was a stay-at-home. When I was married, I was stay-at-home, even though because I had my career early. So I was able to be a stay-at-home mom once I got married, and it was good for the time being. But, I guess it wasn't God's plan. And, I had to kind of step into that, and I don't feel like it's a negative thing to work and to be able to find that balance and still be there for your kids regardless. As a mother, I kind of think it's very empowering to be able to navigate and do everything and be everything. And I think the important part for me is also prioritizing myself too, because when I was a stay-at-home mom, I was overweight. I was not really, even though I was at home, I wasn't really focused on, myself. Now I'm in the gym, I do Pilates. I'm able to do everything and still be there for my kids and still be there for pickups and PTA stuff. I feel like it's empowering and no knock to the stay-at-home moms.
I was not a stay-at-home mom, and I am really appreciative that you recognize that to prioritize yourself and not put yourself last. I had a business. I owned my own business when I had my kids when they were growing up, and it worked out that I worked in the night, so I was home with them during the day. So I was trying to do all the things, and it is challenging, and you can't be all things to everyone, and you have to learn to fill your cup. And it's another thing that when I started to do, it was met with you're selfish and challenged. So I see it shifting, but I do agree with you in that there are ways to work around, but I think it's important for everyone's a mom here to realize that every single mom is going to do something that is going to hurt their child, not intentionally, but because we're human and that's going to happen. And so not to try to be the perfect parent and to be an authentic parent, and say, I made a mistake, and
you can't feel guilty,
and learn to, yes, you did the best you could with what you had, the tools you had. And so I think it's important to recognize that. And so some people may not be ready to be parents because they're not ready to be parents. And I honor that and I applaud that because a lot of us didn't have those options or choices when we were growing up. I had my son very young in college. I was a single mom. And then I felt I had to do the right thing. And so after I started my business, I got married and had 3 more children and did all the things. I tried to be all the things and put myself not always first. And that's when things weren't always so good for my kids, you know? So I think it's important to realize that you're not going to do everything right. And being a mom is a privilege. Not everyone gets that option and that opportunity. And it's also your own choice to be a parent. And when the time is right, if the time is right.
You are important too and have like a lot of me times.
Yes.
Because if you take care of yourself, you can take care of your kids well.
Right. And if you don't take care of yourself, then it's going to come out on the kids.
It's going to happen.
You're agitated, you're going to be stressed. The littlest thing is going to make you blow up.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have the opportunity to be a stay-at-home mom, and now I'm home more. I pick the kids up from school. I take them to all their games and their athletes, and I want them to get amazing scholarships and go to college. But it's not like after college, you got to get married. After college, you got to do this, you do that.
Right.
Do whatever you want to do. I'm here if you fall. I'm here if you go and do great things, you know, but I fill my cup up.
That's how
when the kids leave for school, I leave out with them. My wife's like, darn, you left like 8 o'clock. And I'm like, yeah, I'm at the nail salon. I'm here. I'm at the gym because I'm filling up my cup because I don't know what I'm going to come home to or what they're at school dealing with or just, you know, just life. It's just, it's uncomfortable right now. And I'm in that age bracket you talked about. I'm 46 and it's very uncomfortable, but I'm content and I'm happy, you know, but I'm very uncomfortable. And it's a good thing.
It is good to be uncomfortable.
Yes, I think what I've kind of taken from this conversation is just, again, love and just be open-minded, just about everything across the board. So,
Yeah, for me, it's awareness and diversity, and I just love it. I love different views. It's sometimes conversations that I don't really have very often. So, but it's nice. It's nice to know nothing's right or wrong. We're all kind of together. And what is nice meeting all of you ladies is we all love God, and I love that. So it was nice meeting you all.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation. Like, I know not everyone's gonna see eye to eye, and that's fine. Like, I don't even think it would ever even be possible. As long as we always strive to be the best parents, that's truly the end goal. So to know in your heart and to know that you just did everything that you could in your power to raise good children, raise good citizens for the future. It's really important.
Yes, and we need these type of conversations
Yes,
as
we
well
do.
because obviously, you know, our kids are being exposed to so many things, and like you said, you know, we have to be the best parents that we could be to our children. And so it was amazing being able to talk to every single one of you. So
Yeah, it was fun. It was enlightening. I'm glad I met all of you, and I learned a lot today. I did.
Yes, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to meet you all and have conversations with such a diverse group, not just on the political side, but also on the age, on the ethnic, everything. It's just religious. It's exciting to have that conversation and spark curiosity, and just know that we have more similarities than differences.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, nice meeting all of you. And I take back a lot of different aspects from different moms. Great, very great, takeaway. And all I say to moms is there's no right or wrong when it comes to your kids. So you guys are doing a great job.
Yeah.
Thank
We
you.
are all doing a good job.
Yes.
yes.
What's the heart? The hearts? I forget. I don't know what the hearts. Yeah, like. Yeah, I can't do it.
Thank you.
He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty, where the night is kind and blessed. Under his wings I find my rest, covered by feathers of peace. No terror by night, no arrow by day, only the quiet of his release. He is my refuge, my fortress true, my God in whom I trust. Angels are watching the hours through, till morning light is just. Under his wings I find my rest, covered by feathers of peace. No terror by night, no arrow by day, only the quiet of his release. Because he loves me, I will stay. In the shadow, in the shadow.